What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Switch Up Sports coming to you on Facebook and Instagram Live. It is a Wednesday. It is the 20th of May, as it is now 10:01 p.m. Oh, it's a good day. It is a good day. We have more sports news after what it was a very interesting weekend on in terms of some of those sports news that came out, as well as it was the finale of The Last Dance. And we did have episodes 9 and 10. But before we get into anything, already got to let you know, you got to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Switch Up Sports, as well as now go follow our YouTube page, as that is now up and running. So if you happen to miss a live stream, or you don't want to look at it on you don't want to scroll back through posts on Facebook or Instagram, anything like that, hop over to YouTube. We'll strictly have the videos there. Going to be doing some other videos that will end up being uploaded there, but you will be able to find the shows. They will all be in one area. So live streams going in one, as well as once we get to doing podcasts, that will be on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify Podcasts. Up to you. It's your choice, whichever you want to do. But as we get into it, we did have The Last Dance finish up this Sunday. So episodes 9 and 10 were basically the closure, the full, hey, 98, let's wrap this Jordan thing up. And basically episode 10 is the sole reason and the main reason you didn't have to watch anything else. You could have just watched that one, and it could have been a 20, you could have selected 20 minutes of just after halfway through it. Michael Jordan is solely the greatest player of all time. There's no need for discussion. ESPN put out 17 different polls that Michael Jordan won convincingly in almost all of them in. Now, to his credit, I don't think that he should have won in all 17 polls. I do think LeBron's a better passer. That's really kind of one of those things. It was a poll basically put out there for, to start the conversation. There's not much content going on. There's not much to do. It was a conversation to be had, but the conversation is very easy. It's very quick. It's very simple. Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time, hands down. That's it. This being voted on, a little bit of recency bias, people getting a chance to see how it's going, what really happened. For people like me, I didn't get a chance to live it and experience it live. So I basically, I had to watch the documentary. I had to watch YouTube videos. I have to watch clips. I have to read stories. Versus, there were other people that got a chance, to watch it live, to see it happen. And, those people all say, hey, yes, Michael is the greatest of all time. And then people like me who's seen those clips and read those stories and done some footwork on it, I see the same thing. I see MJ as the best basketball player to live. He's the greatest to ever play the game. But on top of that, I've seen LeBron. I've seen all of his aspects. When he first came into the league, he wasn't that great of a player. He wasn't an all-around player. He used to take relatively smaller players. He used to back him down. He's a big guy, so he takes it in, he backs him down, gets in the post. He was kind of a freight train when he first came in the league. And kind of more and more as the league has slowly developed and he's kept with the times, and he's now shooting more threes. But really at the end of it, it's not really something that you can say he's the greatest of all time at. He's not as clutch as MJ. He hasn't had to go through as much turmoil. He hasn't had as much problems. He hasn't had nearly the amount of distractions that happen. And at the end of the day, it's who's the better basketball player. And if you try to look at LeBron hasn't had a supporting cast, you can look up statistics. He has a better supporting cast than actually what Michael had in terms of finals and the actual play. You can look at that last finals in that Game 6 against Utah, who honestly you could say that they were the better team than the Bulls, and Pippen had his bad back. Rodman was causing a distraction. He didn't play that great that game. Kerr was a little bit off, but Jordan ended up scoring just over half of the Bulls' points in that game, and he completely put the team on his back. He played 46 minutes of the game, of 48, and it's he is the sole reason why they won so many of those games. Yes, Paxson hit the final shot. Yes, Kerr hit the final shot. But really, when it came down to it, if it wasn't for Michael, they wouldn't have been in any of those situations. They wouldn't have been in any of those games. Michael is the reason that they got to any of those positions, and that's really about where the conversation needs to end. There's nothing really else that needs to go into it. You can say, oh, the stats and all this and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it kind of goes back to like I had in that last episode, it's like the Russell Wilson debate. People try to credit Russell Wilson and like try to give him discredit because his stats aren't as good as Drew Brees, or he doesn't have as many rings as Tom Brady, or whatever stat you want to find that, you know, doesn't bode him well. And it's like, okay, well, when you watch him play, he's just better than other guys. It's the same with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have the stats to back up anything right now. He's only been in the league technically 2 years as a starter, and you know, he's been in the league 3 years, 2 years as a starter, and we already see how talented he is. Now, I'm not saying he's the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, you can let that play out for, you know, his career, but if you look at what Jordan did, he played in an era where, yeah, you can say, oh, you know, the talent isn't as good, but you can look across all sports. All athletes are better. There's an advance in science. There's an advance in how you're able to train. There's a different change in terms of, you know, people are dedicating and focusing in on one sport right from the jump. You know, at 6 years old, they're picking a sport and they're playing it for the rest of their life. And on top of that, the training is different. You know, their meal prepping and you know, they're not smoking cigars and drinking alcohol and going to the golf course as soon as they're done. I think that's probably the best line of The Last Dance is after that when MJ won in the Bulls in that 98, and he goes, man, he's like, it's still light out. He's like, you know, I think I got a chance to get in some golf swings. I thought that line was just great. It was just something of just having fun and you know, going to work on his golf game right after, you know, winning his second 3P, and I thought it was really cool to me, and that's kind of what I took out of it. And I don't know, I don't understand the argument. You know, LeBron's been in the league nonstop. He's played all 82 games the one time. You know, Jordan did it more than once. Jordan played hard every single night. He never had load management, and you know, he didn't have the different trainings that and recovery that's available now. And there was no such thing as cryotherapy, where, you know, you get in that frozen liquid nitrogen tank deal that Antonio Brown messed his feet up with. But you know, that's a thing where your recovery is almost instant. And you know, MJ had a classic old ice bath, and you get some ice on the knees and ice on the back, and you know, stem was just now starting to be like, it's just the technology then versus now is different. Now, could Jordan have continued to play? Yeah, he probably could have. But 98, that's probably honestly the best thing for the Bulls, is how they did break up. If they wouldn't have broken up, could they have beaten the Spurs the next year? It's possible, but it wouldn't have looked great. You know, Karl Malone was a bad matchup for them, and honestly, Tim Duncan would have been a even worse matchup that following year. It transitioned. At the end of the day, it's kind of a situation where, if you think about it, you should leave a party early before late. You don't want to be the last guy there. You don't want to stay and, you know, because the only thing that happens the longer you stay at a party is you have a couple more drinks, a couple more words are said that sometimes maybe shouldn't have been said, or there's certain jokes that are said that shouldn't have been said, and it ends up resulting in a situation where it's always better to leave a little bit early than to stay too long. Yeah, could you have missed out on a handful of conversations? Yes, but at the end of the day, it's probably a better situation to leave just a touch early rather than staying too late. And that's honestly the perfect thing for the Bulls. Could they all have come back? That's kind of like Jordan said. It's kind of one of those, you just shrug your shoulders. You know, if they really would have found a way for all of them to come back, even though their worth was well more than what the Bulls would have been able to pay them, who knows? It's a real what if. You know, it plays a toll, and going to the finals in 3 straight years and playing that many games and playing that hard and playing in those tight of games, and you know, you saw it in the clips and the games. MJ was physically exhausted, mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted. And for 3 straight years to do that year after year, going for a 4th, I don't know if it would have happened. I don't know if it would have been a situation that they could have jumped in and done the same thing over again. Now, again, we're talking about the greatest player of all time. Could they have done it? Yes. But you know what? Is it probably better that they didn't give it a shot? Yeah, it's probably better that they did break up when they broke up. Because let's say they come back in 99. Let's say they make it to the playoffs, and then what if Indiana does bounce them in if they happen to catch him in the first round or if they caught him in the second round. Then it's like, is that really how you want to end? Like, you left on the high note. Why would you try to just continue to achieve that? And again, it's something that no one's ever done. No one's ever done for. But do you need to? The actual chance that they had of doing it was not very high. Pippen, he needed to be paid. Jordan, honestly, would have needed to be paid more. Rodman, he needed to be paid more. You had all these guys, and it's like, so you're going to ask them to take these huge pay cuts, even though they're now worth way more than what's able to be paid, for a chance at a fourth title when they're physically, mentally exhausted. And for what? They're already the greatest team of all time. They didn't need 4 to prove that. They won 6 in 8 years, and it honestly should have been 7. You don't need a 4-peat. That's not what it is. This is the greatest basketball team ever put together, ever. And for ESPN putting out that new poll, and it has the new thing of the greatest teams, from all eras, and the all generation team. This Bulls team, I mean, you can literally leave it the exact same. Like, okay, they put Derrick Rose on there, and it's like, honestly, you probably could have left him off too. Like, is it a good addition on there? Yeah, but when you look at it, this is the greatest team all time. Warriors wouldn't stand a chance. Wouldn't stand a chance. Hey, you can shoot the ball from anywhere, you can make it from anywhere, but against some real defense that this Bulls team played, the tenacity, the aggression, no way. Not possible. But time to switch to, who's the second best player of all time in LeBron. He's now coming out with different reports and different things of, I think I would have played great with Jordan, and I think I could have done this and that. He would have had to take a role that Scottie Pippen took as a backseat. And do we think LeBron could have done that? No. Not possible. Don't even have to get into it. LeBron also said in 2011 he seriously considered joining the NFL during the lockout. Yeah, that wouldn't have happened. LeBron is not physical. He's not. He was a freight train right when he first came in the league, but he still wasn't physical. He doesn't back people down. If there was a rim protector, I mean, you look at guys like Jokic and when Dwight Howard was in the middle, and just big centers. LeBron struggles and will avoid going to the rim. He's not that physical of a guy. He's not going to try to take him and put him on a poster. The guy that LeBron's puts on posters are guys that are, smaller than him. And he's not trying to go into the lane and be super aggressive and try to dunk over the top or somebody. That's not what he does. LeBron will drive if he has someone smaller on him, or he's going to drive, stop, and pull up, or he's going to shoot a 3. LeBron is not a physical guy. He's not been in a brawl in 15 years. He is a type of guy to walk away, and that could just be a situation where it's like, you know what? That's just him understanding what he is on the court, what he is off the court, and that's not a situation that he has to get into. But he's not a physical guy. He's not out there fighting and clawing and trying to do anything else. So MJ, yeah, he probably could have played in the NFL. He fought with his brothers growing up. He fought in college. He fought in the NBA. He and Pippen used to take it to the hole against Patrick Ewing and Mutombe. Like, they played in a lot different era that was very physical, and they were two of the most physical, outside of the Pistons and all that, but they were very physical. LeBron is not physical. So to think that he would go to the NFL and think that he could play wide receiver at 6'9", 260 pounds, nope. You will be on the end of the line. You will be playing tight end. And to think that he would be playing tight end as some of these defensive ends would give him a chip as he's trying to run out for a route, or he'd have to stay in and block, yeah, it's not going to work well. Imagine him being lined up against Khalil Mack or a J.J. Watt or Jadeveon Clowney or any of those guys coming around the edge. I'm sorry, I'm going to take the defensive player every single time. LeBron is not that physical. He's a big body, but he's soft. And the finals against the Mavericks, he didn't back down JJ Barea. Like, and I'm not trying to discredit it. I'm not trying to say it knocks him for it, but there's a certain type of person that you have to be to be in the NFL. You can't just be a good high school player. You can't be even just a good college player. You have to be on a completely different level, all the way to make it just to be like a level starter in the NFL. To be good is a whole different conversation. And could he have played? Yeah, he probably could have. He's a big enough guy. But would he have been any good or really been, any worth than just some practice squad guy? No. He'd catch a chip from a defensive end. I don't think he'd be like knocked down, but he's a guy that honestly he wouldn't want to be hitting the ribs that hard. And could he have toughened up and could his body handle it? Yeah, most likely. But to really want to play in the NFL and take the hits that some of those guys take, because again, he would be playing tight end. He would get hit across the middle by some linebackers coming top speed. He'd get hit by some of these hard-hitting safeties. And honestly, I don't think it would end well for him. There's a lot of guys, and it takes a certain mentality to put your body through that over and over and over. And that's just the games. Practice is hard in the NFL, not just the games. And if you think about the NBA, if you're going to try to take load management, or you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to take this quarter up, that's not how it works in the NFL. You play hurt. A lot of guys play through injury. They don't really care. They put you back on the field. They don't care if you're tired. Like, it's lock and loaded. Like, it's a completely different mentality, completely different system than what they're rocking with in the NBA. And that's not anything wrong. It's just, hey, you should probably, give those guys a little bit more credit that are playing the NFL than just saying, oh yeah, I was going to go play for the Dallas Cowboys in 2011 during the lockout. It's like, dude, now I want to see him do it just because. There's a reason he didn't do it. He wants to come out and say it now because Jordan was able to go and play baseball, and it was minor leagues, but he hadn't played since he was in middle school. And you know what? He'd played better than most AA prospects. If he, continued with baseball, he probably could have made it to the major leagues just because he played baseball and was good at it, and it doesn't require you to be super physical. He already had those aspects. He was a good athlete. He plays golf a lot. It kind of somewhat mirrors, but he put in the time and the work. I don't think LeBron would have gone to the gym and lifted and gotten to like 275 and try to play over the middle as a tight end. Because at the end of the day, he's not that physical of a guy. He was a good high school player, and you know what? He probably could have been a good college player if he stuck with it. But there's just a different mentality and a different aspect that playing in the NFL really holds, and I don't think that LeBron is really in for that. He's a great basketball player, second greatest of all time, and he is very smart to have stuck with that and didn't try to go play in the NFL because it honestly would not have been good for him. So now, time to switch up. We're going to the NFL as story comes out. Dak Prescott reportedly wants a 4-year deal, the first 3 years being worth $35 million, which is that equivalent of Russell Wilson, who is light years better than what Dak is. And the 4th year, he wants $45 million. Dak Prescott, I don't know what type of crack you're smoking. To think that you're going to get $45 million in the last year of a contract, first off being a short contract, so that way at the end of the 4 years you can then try to sign another big year and a big contract. That's exactly what you're trying to do. But on top of that, Russell Wilson signed that contract last year. Yeah, it's the next man up, next time to get paid. But you know what? Russell Wilson, he's better than you. Ben Roethlisberger has been better than you. And you know what? Ben is getting paid based off of what he did previously. The Steelers are paying him based off of what he did and got them 2 Super Bowls previously. It has nothing to do with what he's going to do. It has everything to do with what he did. Dak, you haven't done anything. You've won a playoff game. And on top of that, most of your stats are padded after garbage time. That's exactly where most of your stats come in terms of your yards, and that is what it is. You had an offensive-minded quarterback, and your stats aren't as high. You couldn't score a touchdown against the Patriots or the Saints last year. On top of that, you looked terrible against the Bears until the Bears literally pulled their defense back and started playing prevent defense. Oh, right, the same thing that the Packers did when you were getting blown out by 31. And then the Packers in the second half, mostly third and fourth quarter, it was probably about 2 minutes of the third quarter that they played real defense. After that, their corners were 10 yards off the ball, giving them the little 10-yard, 12 yards a pop. That's how it was played because they ran out a lot of time and the game ended up being closer than it was, but the Packers literally had it sealed away well before the end of the game. Like, they coasted in. Just coasted. The Bears coasted in at the end of the game. The Patriots coasted in kind of that second half. And their defense, I mean, yeah, they kind of stepped up. The offense really wasn't there. And I mean, the Patriots didn't have any offensive weapons. What were they supposed to do? But they can't score on any team that has a decent defense. And if they do score, it's normally late in the game, and it's after the game is either almost over or it's already been put away to where they're down by 17 or 21 or whatever it may be, where they're already losing by enough where the team that's ahead doesn't really care, and they're now running the ball to try to run the clock out. It has nothing to do with, oh, well, look at how good Dak was able to come back. Just go and watch the tape. Go and watch the game. The way that the defenses play the Cowboys, if they get up, they start to pull the corners back and they'll give it to Dak. It's not like he's piecing up defenses. He's good on 2 drives a game. It's the opening drive out of the game, and it's the opening drive out of halftime. That's it. They're on the script, and he doesn't even score all the time on those 2 drives. That's his best chance of scoring. He's not worth $35 million, and what the Cowboys need to do at this point, it's like looking for a house or a car. Anything else that is a big purchase in your life. You know, you're looking at it, if you're looking at a house, it's got a great open floor plan, it's in a great neighborhood, the school's down the street, there's a park, there's the pool that's down the street, and this has a pool in the backyard, and there's an upstairs and a media room, and it, like, there's like, okay, I love this house, and it really could be my future, and it could be something that I'd like. But at the end of the day, if the price doesn't work out, you have to walk away. If it's not going to work out, if you buy that house and it's like, well, I think we're going to have to trade in the 2 cars for it. And on top of that, I think that, we're going to have to eat ramen once a week. We'd have to stop going out to dinner. We'd have to, purely cut back on everything else. And especially with the cars, we'll go from 2 cars to 1 car. I'm going to have to, try to find, I might have to go and find a second job, to try to make some other income and pay for that things. That's when you have to just walk away and say no. Not Kirk Cousins, Andy Dalton. That's what they're going to end up going with. He's a guy, he's like, all right, I'm getting $7 million, cool. Fine with me. Then you've got Dak on the other hand who's like, I want $35 million. I need to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. No, you don't. No, you don't. The only reason that you've had your numbers is because you've had the best offensive line, or at least in the top 3. You've had amazing offensive weapons. You've had pieces that have always supported you. You've got arguably the best running back in the league, and you always had an offensive-minded head coach. There's a reason why McCarthy has not said anything about Dak, and why he's brought in Andy Dalton. He doesn't believe in Dak. He understands he's not as good as he's portrayed. The offensive line is worse. And you know what? I don't think he cares. He's going to end up going with the franchise tag because they've got 56 days to sign a contract. They've been negotiating now for 6 months, and it doesn't get easier at this point. Dak is now throwing out things that are well away from what the Cowboys have even offered. He's going in the wrong direction. He's not going towards an agreement. He's going farther away. It's not going to be agreed upon in the next 56 days. They're going to let him play by the franchise tag. It's an exclusive franchise tag, so he can't talk to teams during the entire season. He has to wait till that deadline when he can actually talk to teams. And at that point, he's not going to get paid $35 million on the open market. Someone's going to come in and go, hey, bud, you're worth $30 million. We're going to give you a 5-year deal at $30 million. That's what you're worth. And the only way that he's not worth $30 million on a 5-year, 6-year deal, which, again, is great, just take it. Like, just keep your mouth shut, sign the contract, take the money. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Because at this point, he's going to end up on the open market. He's not going to get the money that he thinks he's worth. He's going to get paid what he's truly worth, which is even less than what he thinks it is. And at the end of the day, not many teams are probably going to vote for him. If you put Russell Wilson and Dak, you might have 1 or 2 for Dak. You'd have the entire league, with maybe the exception of Baltimore and the Chiefs, that would be like, yeah, we'll take Russell Wilson. To think that a bunch of teams are going to be chomping at the bit to get Dak, a guy who thinks he's worth $35 million, and on top of that, wants $45 at the end of the contract, so even then he's like, okay, I think that I'm going to get better by the end, or he's just trying to weight it towards like, okay, at the end of my contract, I want mine to be $45 million. That's not how most contracts work. Most contracts are front-loaded and kind of taper off. Dak, you're going in the wrong direction, and you know what? It's really going to come out to bite you in the butt. Because honestly, if I'm Jerry and the Cowboys, I'd shut my mouth. I wouldn't talk for the next 56 days. I'd let him play on the franchise tag. I'd let him prove himself. Now, if he comes out guns a-blazing, really proving himself, and like they go 13-3, they go to the playoffs, they make it to the Super Bowl, hey, you know what? All right, we'll do it. We'll sign your contract. We'll sign your deal. But if it's another 8-8 year or a 9-7 year, and they kind of sneak in the playoffs, nope, not doing it. Not doing it. I'll send you on the free market, because you know what? If we're gonna go 9-7, you can do that with Andy Dalton, and we're paying him $70 million versus your $35 million. Think about that one. Not smart, Dak. Not smart. That's about it for today, as we were wrapping it up on a Wednesday. Saturday show will be kind of that mid-morning to early afternoon. As that, we're going to dive into some NFL, got some kind of games that I want to has as a key in week 1, as the schedules are fully out. We've got the all those, as we do have the lines of those games. So we've got from Vegas, we've got some some over-unders, some spreads that I'll kind of talk about for a little bit. I've got 5 games I do want to talk about. They're kind of some interesting lines that bring up a discussion that are in my head. So that'll be Saturday. But as of right now, do need you guys to follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. As well, like and subscribe on YouTube at Switch Up Sports for all of those. As well as, if you like podcasts, you got to follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, whichever is to your choosing. As we just kind of get geared up for Saturday's show. Like I said, there's not too much going on. There's going to be some more NFL news. Like I said, I do want to dive into those 5 games to talk about those spreads, as Vegas has now come out with those, as the United States is slowly starting to open back up and giving us more hope as to sports coming back sooner and sooner. But as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and you already know what you got to do. You got to lace up your shoes, pop in your headphones, but then you got to switch up, because this is Switch Up Sports. As I say good night and goodbye. Thank you guys, as always. Be looking forward to talking to you guys on Saturday and at 11:30. Had to think about that one for a second. So we're going to do Saturday at 11:30. Until then, guys, take it easy. We'll see you later.